Yo, fellow and fellas of the Pokemon community, what the frick is poppin'? So man, with the plan, that man, you gotta stand. Jordan Cruton more coming at you guys live with some more Pokemon Showdown Show Out. I don't know who this mon's gonna be that we're gonna be featuring today in this episode, but I do know it's gonna be a ton of fun. So if you guys are excited, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and comment down below. Tell me how you guys are doing today. Tell me what your favorite mon is, and tell me what mon you want me to use in the PU in just a few days, because you know we alternating between these. We got this pre-build team, we got this team that we're gonna build. We're gonna alternate between those. Also, I apologize for no Road to Master Ball tier video on Wednesday. We will be restarting that series on Monday because there was a slight problem. I run everything off of a MacBook Pro, and I ran into some issues with some different files, and my internal CPU was absolutely filled up beyond belief, so I could not record any more data, which is why my video cut out the other day. But we're going to be back. I got myself an external hard drive. We're going to be recording everything onto that external hard drive. It's 2 terabytes, so we shouldn't lose anything. And whenever I get done, everything exported and we're all good and uploaded, I'm just going to delete the video off of the hard drive, so that way we can keep a good amount of space on it. But yeah, man, today we're rocking with NU, so expect that content to start rolling out whenever I get that. Don't forget, we have our playthrough going on Saturday and Sundays, which I'm very, very excited about, because coming up soon, we got on the 17th, the Isle of Armor. So, man, it's so close, and I'm so excited to get some of these new mons in here. But without further ado, let's look at this NU, because there are some really cool stuff that I want to be running with this. So NU right now is a very, very interesting tier, in my opinion. I think there is some really good stuff in it, and I do think there are some not so great stuff in the NU tier. Going back and looking at some of the usage here, Drampa's getting a lot of usage. There's a lot of stuff like that you really got to be careful of where we're sitting at right now. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how this goes down, but I think it's going to be a ton of fun. So be sure to click that like button and let me know what you guys are thinking. So at first glance, this tier doesn't really have that many really great things going for it, but it does have a couple really cool options that we can rock with. One of my favorites straight off the bat is going for Perrserker. I love Perrserker. I think that this thing is so cool. I think we have to run Choice Band Perrserker, but we'll get to the rest of it. Obviously, Tough Claws. We'll get back to the rest of that here in a second. Next up on the team is a little bit interesting, because I don't really know what I want to run straight off the bat here. I think there are a couple cool things that we could run, but I also think there are a few kind of weird things that we could run as well. One thing that I'm really looking for right now comes in the PU tier, because I really want to run myself Manectric. I think Manectric is one of the best mons in these lower tiers, and I think he's got some really cool stuff, being able to get Lightning Rod and absorb all the electric type attacks that you're going to be seeing in this tier. And in other tiers, I think it's really awesome, being able to be a safe switch into Jolteon, to Lantern, to the different Rotoms, to all kinds of stuff in this tier. I think is really awesome. Next up, I really feel like we're going to need something that's going to be able to set up. In this tier, I don't really know what the big setup things are, but in my opinion, I think Golurk could be a cool mon to kind of run with. He's not going to be a setup. He's probably going to be another offensive threat. But at the moment, I don't think I want to run Golurk. I think I'm gonna calm down on Golurk, because I want to use him in another video in a couple of days. If you catch my drift. Arctivish could be really cool. I want to know if Slush Rush is allowed yet. No, Arctivish is only allowed with that ability soon, so that's fine with me. I'm just not going to use Arctivish then. I was wondering if it has Slush Rush, because if it did, we could run that Obama Snow Arctivish up in here with that Fish's Friend, but unfortunately not rocking that quite yet, which is okay. It's perfectly fine with me. I think Hatchram could be a cool thing, a cool little defensive mon with that Violite. But I've never really run one before. I think Malmar is going to be my real hard-hitting beast. I think we're going to put a Life Orb on that boy. Go with the contrary. You already know you got to run Superpower on a Malmar. And we'll get the rest of that set in a minute. So I think we got some cool mons here, some really big offensive threats. So now I think we need to start thinking about defense a little bit. One mon who I'm really thinking about whenever it comes to defensive is going to be a little man down here by the name of Appleton. I think this thing is an absolute defensive beast. Slap leftovers on this thing, slap thick fat on here, and you can really get some stuff going if you put like what's it called? Grab apple, I think, is the one for this one. Is that what this is? No, this is. Wait, what is this one? Apple acid. That's right. Lowering the special defense is huge. Being able to run that plus Draco Meteor, and then running like Leech Seed and maybe like Recover to kind of deal with some of these things. And you obviously want to run it with max HP and max defense. And then I'm gonna put a little bit into there, and I can just click that button and it'll give me everything that I want. So we can just rock with that. So far we got some interesting mons here that we can rock with. Malmar and then Appleton is our defensive piece here. Since we got that piece coming in full force, I want to go ahead and get that Fire Water Grass core, because that's the kind of person I am. I like running cores. I think cores are really, really important in order to kind of hit things like a truck. For grass type in this, or not grass type, for water type in this board, there are a number of things that we can run. But I am leaning towards, at the moment, I'm leaning towards another defensive mon in Quagsire. I think it'd be really cool. Having a defensive core would be awesome. And then last mon running the Rapidash, I think it'd be really awesome as well. And I would want to run this Choice Scarf just so I absolutely do everything to this thing. Run the Flash Fire on it. And we can figure out the rest of these moves here. So I think this is a pretty cool team. I can't think of many weaknesses that it's going to have at the moment, but right now I'm looking at it and I really do like it, just as a defensive piece. I think it'd be really, really cool. So Perrserker, obviously Tough Claws. So all contact moves are going to be up. So of course you want to run the whereas you want to run the Iron Head, you want to run the Knockoff. Where are you at? Does this thing not get knockoff? That really sucks. This thing should definitely get knockoff. We're gonna run that. We're gonna want to run the close combat. We're gonna want to run the fake out, and I think or we don't want to run fake out. Why did I put fake out? I'm a freaking dunce. I think that foul play could be a decent one to bring. I think play rough is definitely the play though. And last move. What am I thinking for the last move? Seed Bomb for Quagsire could be cool, so we don't just get trapped by that thing. So I think that's what we're gonna rock. I'm gonna rock it with the max attack. Of course, we're gonna run it adamant because it has to be. I'm gonna run a good amount. I'm gonna run like, let's get 170 on special defense and then run the rest in HP. Rocking adamant, I think is a good little thing. Just letting us live some earth powers from some different mons, maybe like living a stun fisk in like 3 hits or something like that. So I think it'd be really cool. So Manetric's the next mon that we come up with, man. And I don't know what Manetrics normally run. Honestly, I think Manetric is a very polarizing mon, but I've never used one before, which I think is really, really quite interesting. So we're gonna go look at him on Smogon, see what this thing runs. So it looks like it has zero. It has 0 sets right now. Let's see what he ran back in the day. Down in PU. Let's see what he ran. So it looks like he runs more Choice Scarf sets, which I think is honestly pretty cool, but I don't really want to run a Choice Scarf Manetric. Let's take a look at some of its stats, man. So it's got good speed, and it's got good special attack. So in my opinion, I think we should run it with a good amount of speed, a good amount of special attack, a little bit of special defense. Run the Jolly, not Jolly, where is it? Where's plus speed minus attack? There it is, Timid Nature. And I want to run this thing with some Choice Specs. Choice Specs Lightning Rod with, let's go Volt Switch, because you obviously need that Thunderbolt, and then let's see what else we can run with this thing. Flamethrower could be really cool to catch some Perrserkers. I think could be really awesome. Although I think I'd want to run Overheat instead, just to kind of hit things harder. And then last move, I think we could rock something quite interesting. What do I think we should run for the last move? I think there are a couple of things that you can run with this kind of mon. I think Quick Attack could be really, really good though. being able to catch those really low mons just for a little second, I think it'd be really cool. So I really like running quick attack on this thing. This is exactly the set I was gonna run, but it just has the plus 4. But I don't really want a minus defense for this. I think that is a better play. I think running hasty is the better play here, just because Malamar here. Of course, we're gonna run superpower. You're gonna have to run knockoff. I think another necessary move on this thing is, of course, going to be the Psycho Cut. Other than that, you can pretty much run anything you want to with this thing. I really think that this is one of the most durable mons in the entirety of this of the meta, because I mean, this is just such a hard mon to switch into. But I think ultimately I'm going to run. I think Liquidation is a better play. I don't know what exactly this could catch off guard, but I think either Liquidation or Rock Slide, but at the end of the day, those hit pretty much the same things. I guess being able to hit flying types would be kind of good, especially like a Volibee with an Eviolite could be cool, but we have knockoff for that, so I really feel like Liquidation is my best play. Just running 4 attacks on Malamar, I think, is the best play. And this set is perfectly fine running with max speed with a Jolly Nature. I think is just the best thing to run with Malamar. Appleton, of course, we already got this set figured out, and then these two are the ones that I'm a little bit interested by. So we could obviously run Water Absorb, or we could run Unaware. I think running Water Absorb would be cool, considering that then we would have a water immunity, and we would have the what's it called? Shoot, the electric immunity with the ground type. So Water Absorb could be really cool, but Unaware is also very spectacular. So let's see what we get here. Let's see what we get. I think Water Absorb or Unaware. You know what? Let's rock Water Absorb. I'm feeling Water Absorb. I'm feeling like we should run the feeling like we should run just straight up leftovers with Water Absorb. Unaware could help us, though. I'm actually just going to run Unaware because I feel like that's going to come back and bite me in the bum if I do not do it. We're running Earthquake, and we're running Recover and Toxic and what else? Earthquake, Recover, Toxic, and what else does this thing run? Curse could be cool. I think Encore is the play, though. Recover, Toxic, Encore. Obviously, you're going to run max defense and max HP, and I think you're just going to run that. So, really, there's no point in not just pressing that button. And then Rapidash, finally. We're going Scarf. I'm going straight Flare Blitz. I'm going... Where is it? Wild Charge. I'm going Play Rough, and I'm going Poison Jab because this team has a little bit of a difficulty hitting a fairy type at the end of the game. So this is what we're rocking here. I don't know who's going to be the MVP of this team. I think Appleton could come in clutch with some games. I think Manectric could come in clutch with some games. But we're running all 3 bands. We're running or all 3 choice items. We're running Specs. We're running Scarf, and we're running Band. We're also running Malamar, who's a huge threat in this tier. Appleton, who is a cool defensive piece, as is Quagsire. So right now, I'm really liking this team, and I'm ready to see how this goes. Let's validate this team for NU. It is, of course, valid, because why wouldn't it be? And let's go down to NU, and let's pick up a game. This is one of the tiers that we haven't really experimented with all that much. But we'll take a look and see what this dude's rocking with. So he's got a really cool team. Let's launch a good luck in the chat, and we'll see what this dude wants to do. So Vibrava is a really cool mon. I actually really like that. But he does have a couple really interesting mons, like Indeedee Female. Croagunk is also pretty interesting. That's a mon I really want to run. I really want to run a Choice Specs Indeedee. I think would be really cool. But we'll see what this dude wants to do. I think he could just lead Ninjask, which is really what I'm expecting him to do. And so I almost just want to lead Manectric and counter to that. He actually leads Jolteon. So this is an interesting standoff, but I think I'm just going to go for an Overheat. He goes for the Shadow Ball, which is going to do 70%. Overheat is going to do 81. So let's see here. If he goes for a Shadow Ball again, I'm pretty confident in just going into the Appleton here. And he can go for that all he wants to, and I can get up a Leech Seed, which I feel like is my best play at this point, because I feel like he's going to switch in the Ninjask. I think Ninjask is one that could come in. He actually sends in the Croagunk instead, which is perfectly fine. I don't know what exactly this thing's going to do to me. I don't think he can KO me in one shot just because of how absolutely thick I am. But this is worth calcing, I think, just for a second. Looking up Appleton here, I feel like it is worth looking at the Croagunk. Croagunk here, I think it's worth looking here. So he's obviously going to be level 100. And it looks like that's only going to do a little bit to me, and Draco's definitely going to get close to picking up a KO. He goes into Indeedee, which is honestly fine with me. We get an easy 30% off on this thing, and we get to make an interesting play here. I think there's a number of things that we could do, but I think my best play is just to go Malmar. As Calm Mind comes off from you, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to go for the knockoff here. I'm not too worried about what Indeedee can do to me, as we just pick up the KO right there. So Ninjask comes in now. He's obviously going to go for the Bug-type move. I can sense it in my bones, and I feel like going into Quagsire is my best play. He goes for the Swords Dance, which is quite an interesting play. I'm going to go for the Toxic, though. As he goes for the U-turn, he could bring in a number of things. He actually goes Quillfish, which is quite interesting. I don't know what this thing wants to do to me, so I'm going to go for the Earthquake. And we do a good amount. We do 58%, which is really, really good. I can go for it again as he goes Vibrava. Once again, don't know what this thing wants to do, so I'm going to go for a Toxic. He goes for a Toxic of his own. That's perfectly fine. We outlive Vibrava. At this point, I don't really see what Manectric can do. I think Quagsire is still very, very important. I can't really see what Manectric does, so I think I'm going to go that as he goes for the Boom Burst and picks up the KO. I think my play here is, I think I've got a couple plays, actually. I think Rapidash is my play here, and going for the Play Rough I feel like is probably just the safest option, because this probably kills Vibrava. Oh, it's so close, but he goes for the Toxic, we miss, and he gets killed by Poison. So that was a really interesting play to not go for in a Ground-type attack right there. So puzzling, but maybe it was the right play for him. I don't know. I'm going to go Perrserker on the Poison Jab, as he actually goes Croagunk. So I'm actually in a pretty good spot right now. I feel like I can just go for an Iron Head and do a ton. Yeah, there we go. Iron Head just straight up KOs the Croagunk. We'll see what happens, and we get a forfeit on the first game. So right off the bat, man, this team putting in some absolute work. I'd be straight up loving it. So let's get into the next game. Okay, this dude's got a really interesting team. He's got the Mr. Rhyme, which is, of course, the #1 most used mon in PU. But he's down here in NU for a visit. This dude's got a fun team. I'm going to drop a good luck in the chat for this man as well. And we'll see what this dude wants to do. He's got a really cool team. And I kind of want to see what he's got rocking with him. I think a good lead here could be Quagsire. I think Quagsire leads well against most of his team. I think the only thing it doesn't is Mr. Rhyme. And maybe opposing Quagsire could be a little bit of an issue. But ultimately, I think going Manectric and just clicking Volt Switch is my better play. As he leads Silvally Fire, which is great, I can go for a Volt Switch and just straight up get into the tournament. So we'll see what happens here. So we go for the Volt Switch. We get a crit off, but that was going to be a 2-hit anyways. And we get an interesting play here. I'm going to go Quags. As he goes for the Parting Shot. That's perfectly fine. He gets a slow Parting Shot, and I can guess he's probably going to go Mr. Rhyme here, as that's probably his only play at this point in the game. Yeah, he goes Mr. Rhyme here, so we can be expecting for a Freeze Dry to come off here. Now, the problem is I don't really have a great switch into a Freeze Dry, so I'm going to go Perrserker, just hard Perrserker here, as he goes for a Psychic, and I'm going to go for an Iron Head. And we can hit this Togedemaru pretty dang hard, which I think is the best thing that we could have done on that play. Next up, I think Quagsire is once again my play, as he goes for a Fake Out. That's perfectly fine. I can actually go for an Encore here, and Encore, well, I don't actually think Encore is the play. I think Earthquaking here is the play, as he goes Driftblim. I'm going to go for the Toxic here on this turn, as he goes for the Willow. That's perfectly fine with me, and I can actually Encore him into the Hex here, which is good. I think at this point, my best play is to click Recover. I don't know if he's going to stay in, but on the off chance that he doesn't, he could expect me to go into Malamar, which he doesn't, and he gets that prediction right, but I can go straight into Manectric and get a Volt Switch off and KO this Driftblim if he leaves it in. Now, he could make the play and go Quagsire, which I think would be his best play, but he does go Togedemaru instead, and we're able to get in Malamar here. And now the Malamar's in, I want to see what this dude's going to click. He goes for the Fake Out on turn 1. That's fine. I'm going to go for the Superpower still, because this thing cannot KO me, and Superpower is going to do a ton of damage and only boost my stats more. I think his only real play here is to go into Driftblim, but he doesn't do that. He actually goes for the Thunder Wave here, which is quite interesting, as now he goes Quagsire, which is interesting. I'm going to go for the Knockoff here and knock off this dude's leftovers, and I'm going to go for the Psycho Cut right now and get the crit, and let's get another one right now for the fellas. It doesn't matter. We didn't need the crit. So Malamar came in and did his work. He did what we needed to do. He got 2 KOs. So that's perfectly fine, getting the first 2 on this opponent's team. Driftblim's very much worn down, as is Silvally, and Toxicroak can be dealt with by a number of things on my team. One of which is named Manectric. Manectric kind of flies through this dude's team, so I'm just going to go straight into it. He brings in Silvally Fire. I'm going to go for the Volt Switch here on this turn, which will KO the Silvally. So at the end of the day, that crit did not matter, because I haven't even brought anything that would be weak to that thing in yet. And I'm going to go into Rapidash and see what this dude wants to go for here. I think his best play, in my opinion, is to go Driftblim, but he actually goes Mr. Rhyme, which is a very, very interesting play, because now I can click Flare Blitz and pick up the KO on Mr. Rhyme. So that thing was standing in the way of me just pretty much sweeping with Appleton, as he goes for a Strength Sap. That's fine. We're going to be able to pick up the KO there with that. So at this point, going Manectric is extremely safe, and clicking Thunderbolt and pretty much winning this game as of right now. There really wasn't much he could do to avoid this in game. We can drop a GG in the chat, and we take game 2 in NU. Of course, I'm not that high on the NU ladder, but I'm decently high, so we can expect it. I think we should get one more game here, and we'll see what happens here. I really like this dude's team. Like, I really do. I think Wishy Washy is such a cool mon. I just haven't gotten around to using it yet, and I feel like I should have used it the other day, but I didn't. But he's got an interesting team. He's got Dreadnought, which is most likely choice banded. But the first thing that I see here is Appleton kills 1, 2, 3 members of this dude's team and outstalls the Leafeon. So in my opinion, Appleton is a huge part of this win. I think Malamar is also very big, being able to handle Sock on this team. My biggest threat, though, is going to be going against the Rotom Fan. I just have to play around that thing very, very nicely, and we'll see what happens. I think Malamar here is my lead, as he leads the Rotom, which is fine. This thing should outspeed us, but I don't know what he's going to go for, so I'm going to go for a knockoff here and knock off this thing's Damp Rock. So it looks like he's probably going to go for the Rain, as he actually just goes for a Willow. So that's fine with me. I'm going to get in Manectric here on the Rain, which is perfectly fine. And I'm gonna go for a Volt Switch here, just straight up. I think is my best play, and that's not going to kill the Rotom, although it's going to get very, very close. And I feel like Quagsire is my best play here. He goes for the burn onto Quagsire. That is perfectly fine. I'm gonna get up a Toxic, and we'll see what this dude wants to go into. He goes into Leafeon, which is awesome. That means we get this thing just straight out of the way immediately. I can go into Appleton now. I think it's really cool that he's running a Leafeon in Rain. because normally that thing is run in Sun. We go into Rotom here. We missed the Draco, which is really, really big. That would have definitely been able to put a damper on this thing for sure, as we can go Quagsire once again as he puts up a Rain Dance. I don't really know what this thing's going to want to go for, but I'm just going to go for the Earthquake here. Or I'm going to go for the Toxic once again. He goes for the Air Slash, and we missed the Toxic, which is another really big one. And unfortunately, that means that we die on the next turn. This thing was not too important to the winning of this game, I don't believe, so I'm perfectly fine with just letting this thing go down with Rotom. I'm going to bring in Perrserker here, as he's going to bring in Dreadnought, which is great. I think he's probably going to go for an Earthquake, which scares me quite a lot. I'm gonna look at Perrserker here, look at the Choice Band set, and look at Dreadnought. So it looks like Dreadnought here doesn't normally run the Earthquake, and he can't KO us with anything. Meanwhile, we KO with pretty much any move we want to go for, but Seed Bomb looks like the best. He goes for Liquidation. He does not pick up the KO, and we pick up the KO with Seed Bomb. So Perrserker and that Seed Bomb, man, I was talking about it being a little bit risky earlier, but it does pay off there. Let's see what happens here. I don't know what his play is at the moment, but taking out Dreadnought this early on was really, really big. As we're pretty much able to just stall out pretty much everything else on this dude's team with Appleton. So he brings in Dugtrio. That's fine. I'm going to let this thing go down. So he just goes for an Earthquake as expected. I'm going to make my Appleton play here and just go for the Apple Acid. I'm not too worried about this thing at all, no matter what it's able to do. So I'm going to just go for the Apple Acid and see what this thing wants to go for. He goes for the Stealth Rocks, which is fine. He can see that he can expect us to go for another one and switch out. He's not going to. Instead, he's going to get a flinch. So another really big play and another flinch. Oh my gosh, I'm getting hacks out of the world in this game. These hacks, man. Shoot. I'm gonna go for a superpower here. I feel like that game was over if we didn't get hacks 2 turns in a row, which is, I mean, that just happens. It's something that we've just got to come to expect at the end of the day. So I'm gonna go for the Psycho Cut here and see what happens on this Toxic Leafeon. So he's gonna take 18% from that, and he's gonna get a knockoff off on me, which is fine. This thing's obviously got leftovers, so I'm just going to go for the Psycho Cut again, see if we can break through this burn, get a crit. We do, it gets 18% off on this thing, and now we have a tough choice to make because I feel like going Manectric and Overheating is my best play. If we play this in-game right, we do have a chance to still win with Manectric. The problem goes with what I just said if we play this in-game right. I want to look at Manectric real quick. And we look at it here, choice specs with the overheat. We have overheat. We are minus 2 in special attack against, and I want to check to see against a Dugtrio. Overheat still does KO, but this thing's going to outspeed us. I think I'll make the play in a Rapidash here and go into Manectric once again. That really didn't do anything for me, actually, now that I'm looking at it. And we lose the game. So GG to this dude. We take a loss here, so we're not going to let this be our final game. But, man, I just want to talk about some of these hacks that happened in this game. Straight off the bat, you know, we got some pretty bad stuff here. This was probably the first big one right here, was the Rotom Fan coming in and us missing missing the Draco Meteor, him getting to put up the rain, then us missing a Toxic on it, then us finally hitting the Toxic on it. Fortunately, we didn't get flinched with the air slashes that came out. We were able to pick up the KO with Perrserker, which wouldn't have been a problem because Dreadnought wouldn't have outsped us without that. And we really just got a couple of really bad senses here. If you look at 14, 15, and 16. Flinched 3 times, or flinched twice, got killed on the 3rd one, which was really just not good. I played that ending not so great, but at the end of the day, I do feel like we should have won that game. But this is the game we play. It's Pokemon. We play this, and that's how it goes. So we're going to go ahead and get one more game up here, and then I think I'm going to call it for this episode, win or loss, because we're already at about 30 minutes, and I try not to make them that long because I know people's attention spans are quite short, but we'll see what happens. But that game was really fun. But the first 2 games that we played really showed off this team pretty well. I really feel like we did a pretty good job, kind of going through and really showing how much of a beast Perrserker can truthfully be in this meta with the choice band. So we'll check to see what happens here. But I do think it is going to be quite interesting. So last game here, and we've got a really, really interesting looking team here that we're going against. We'll see where this is going to lead to, but I think his lead is possibly going to be Perrserker, which makes me want to lead Quagsire, because I think Quagsire really has a good lead against everything except for Abomasnow, but I don't think that thing's going to lead. So he does lead the Perrserker, which is perfectly fine. I'm going to go for the Toxic here. I'm actually going to go for the slow Encore because I think he's okay. So he's actually fast. He's a fast boy, which is fine. I'm going to go for the Toxic here. Unfortunately, we don't have any way to get rid of these hazards, which is going to be quite sad, but we'll see what wants to happen. He goes into Abomasnow, which is fine. I am going to go into Perrserker because this thing can take any hit Abomasnow wants to throw out, especially the Giga Drain. It actually goes for the block, which is quite interesting. So I'm not allowed to switch out, which is fine because I can click Iron Head and do a ton of damage to Cofagrigus. Although we do now have Mummy, I still think that this is my best play. Going for the Iron Head, hopefully we get a flinch. We do not. He sets up a Trick Room, which is quite interesting, which explains why we were slower than some of this stuff. He goes for the Body Press. That's not going to pick up the KO, and Perrserker gets another KO with the Iron Head. Hail goes down, which is perfect. Of course, we do lose the Tough Claws. I don't really think this thing is worth keeping around any longer than it needs to be. But this just comes down to how fast can we beat this guy. I'm going to go for the Iron Head on this as he goes for a Hex, which is perfectly fine. He brings in the Lampent. I am not scared of this thing at all. I'm going to go for the Quagsire and go for the Earthquake. He's probably going to go for the Hex. That's not going to KO, and we will almost KO with the Earthquake. Not quite. He can get off another Hex. That's perfectly fine. But now I go Malamar, and I click the Knock Off. And something gets killed here, as he does just let Lampet go down. That's perfectly fine, and I would imagine I outspeed pretty much everything else on this dude's team. As he goes Perrserker now, I can go for a Superpower. It's going to do a lot of damage, and I can go for another one here and pick up the KO on Perrserker, which I'm actually going to go for the knockoff here and pick up the KO on Perrserker, because I feel like that is just my better play. Because ultimately, if he brings in the Rotom, that could be quite an issue that we see. Next up, I think Manectric is the play. Manectric kind of handles a couple of things on this dude's team, one of which being this Malamar, and we can go for a Thunderbolt and almost pick up the KO, and then go for another one and indeed pick up the KO, because he's not going to be able to switch anything into this. As he actually goes for the knockoff, knocks off our Specs, which is perfectly fine. And now it just comes down to who he goes next. I feel like this play could make a difference. I feel like he's going to go into the Abomasnow first. So I think Rapidash is my play. He could think that I see a safe switch in here. He actually goes Rotom first, which is quite interesting. But I can go for a... Oh, he gets a crit! Oh my gosh, how unfortunate can things be? How unfortunate can things be? Did that crit matter? Did that crit matter? That crit definitely mattered. Oh, that's a pain. It's a giant pain. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I want to go. No, we're getting one more game. I know I said the last game was my last one, but this is definitely the last one that we're playing here, because we have been hacked out 2 games in a row from losing, which is just not fun for me. So we're gonna get another one up in here. I'm gonna go lead Perrserker because, or actually, I'm gonna lead Quag. No, I'm going to lead Manetric. Let me just switch across a couple different leads here. He actually leads Lantern, which is quite interesting. I don't know what this thing's going to go for, so I'm going to go into the Quags. He's going to put up the Rain, which is quite interesting for the Dreadnought, I would guess. And I'm going to click Toxic on whatever comes here. I think he could go Dreadnought, so I think going for this is good. He goes for the Arctivish here, which is quite interesting. I'm going to just go for the Recover here, as he goes for a Vicious Rend. So this thing does indeed get Vicious Rend, as we have learned just now. I'm a little bit scared. I'm going to go Appleton here. Vicious Rend ain't going to do nothing to me. Ain't going to do nothing. And I can go for a Leech Seed on whatever wants to come in now. I think he could bring a couple things in. Rotom Fan was going to be what I was going to say before I got so rudely interrupted. But I have a really safe answer to this thing in Perrserker coming in. He forfeits! Hey, look at that! so that's the one we wanted. It wasn't even a 2-minute game. Look at that. But yeah, this is going to do it for this episode, man. I hope you guys did enjoy. It was fun to play with this team. Definitely going to have to give Perrserker the thumbnail just because he's the coolest little boy ever. I hope you guys did enjoy, man. This was a really fun team to use. I think we could have won every single game that we played, except we got a little bit hacked out. But, you know, that's fine. That's fine. And I hope you guys do enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy tomorrow whenever we're going to put up a little bit of a cool video. I already know what mod I'm going to be using. He's going to be using one of the new hidden ability mods. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. And I will see you guys all next time. Peace.